Joshua Smith here, and welcome to the GSD Mode Podcast. Now get shit done and smash that subscribe button now. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Podcast interview, where every single week I interview top real estate professionals, top entrepreneurs, and strip top badasses that are out there dominating their space. So people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves, for their families, as well as have a big impact on others. And today, guys, we got another rock star guest here on the show. As always, our guest today, James Ney. James is an individual real estate agent out of Richmond, Virginia, and is just on fire. He just won the prestigious 30 Under 30 award. So he is a young dude, an absolute hustler. And check this out, you guys. This year, he is on track to do over 150 closings just himself in 2020. Last year, he did over 100 transactions by himself. And this year, on target to be right around 150 or exceed 150 sales. And here's the crazy part, you guys. He has done this and built this amazing business without spending money on generating leads. Almost all of his business, over 90%, come from repeat referral business. And he breaks down his different methods, his different strategies, how he's done it, and so forth, and goes through his whole entire career so you guys can learn from him and emulate the same level of success. Now, real quick, before we jump into this amazing podcast interview, if you haven't already, make sure that you download and snag your 100% free copy of my new book, Dominate Your Real Estate Business, Top Tips from a Top Producer. 100% free, no fluff, nothing being sold, you guys. This is just top methods, strategies, and tips that I've personally done inside my real estate business that have allowed me to become one of the top real estate agents and team leaders on the planet. So go snag your copy right now at joshuasmithfreebook.com, joshuasmithfreebook.com. Getting 100% free, you guys. Go snag that copy right now. Also, if you're enjoying this content, you guys, make sure to smash that subscribe button, make sure to smash that like button, and let's jump into this amazing podcast interview. James, my man, welcome to the GSD Mode Podcast, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude, I'm stoked and excited to have you on. And dude, you're doing, I mean, you've done and continue to do some big things in the real estate industry and outside of the real estate industry as well. And at such a young age, man. I mean, how old are you? Are you 26, 27?
I'm 28.
28.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, and I mean, you've created the success that most people don't create after, 30 years in this business or so forth. And I know that you kind of grew up in this industry in a way, but then I know you had some experience in personal training and some other stuff as well. So before we get into all the stuff that you're doing today, I'm always intrigued in our guests' kind of journeys that led them here, man. So if we wind the clocks, like how did you get started in real estate and how did this begin for you in the first place, dude?
Yeah, man. So I, like you just said, I was a personal trainer before going into real estate. If I go a little further back than that, in college, I had studied economics, and while I was in school at Old Dominion University down in Norfolk, I started a couple clothing lines. One was out of Norfolk, one was out of DC, and it was just kind of that that spirit of starting and growing something and constantly wanting to evolve. And it was really cool because I tapped in with some hip hop artists and some other music artists, doing merchandise for them and touring with them. And, that was a really good experience. And then I kind of simmered down a little bit, got into personal training, had a huge passion for fitness. But I think the most money I made ever personal training was 22 grand in a year. And, I was just certainly capped income wise. And I know it's kind of the cliche thing that you hear everywhere is like, oh, I want to help people. I want to help people. But it was really, that's why I stuck with personal training for a while, is like, I literally got to wake up and every day was like, I got to help people. I had clients crying to me, tears of joy of, losing weight or whatever their milestone was. And it seemed like real estate might be that next level of helping people on an even bigger level financially and with their goals. But, going into real estate, I didn't really see myself being a big sales agent. I saw myself getting into it more for investing personally into rental homes and renovations. We all see these cool TV shows and we dread getting these clients that just want to recreate that. But that's kind of what I saw myself doing. And you know, it was kind of a journey where I knew I wanted to be an agent, and I saved up. I told myself I needed to save up $10,000, and I was living in like a little 2-bedroom apartment just outside of Richmond City, and driving like an old beat up Volvo station wagon, and saved up that 10 grand, took the class. And then I still was personal training, which, you know, a lot of people know that you shouldn't try to do 2 full-time jobs getting into real estate, but I was training from like 6 to like 8 in the morning, training clients at the gym, going and working real estate, trying to make sure I was spending at least 40 hours a week doing real estate, and then going and training clients in the evening. And I was doing that because I had to do that to pay bills. But ultimately, that was the biggest blessing, because I was converting those clients. You know, anyone that can afford to pay for personal training has some money. And I was able to convert those clients to become my real estate clients. And I think like a huge percentage of my business, my first year in real estate, was clients from the gym.
Yeah. No, I love that. And did I hear or read this correctly, or maybe I screwed this up, but was your dad in real estate too?
Yes. So my father was, he spent a few years in real estate when I was, you know, a child, and I would go, you know, drive around and see open houses, and he always had the signs and was always meeting with clients. And I thought that was pretty cool at a young age.
Yeah. Did that kind of help plant the seed of when you were making that decision of, man, you know, I need to make more money, and I also want to serve people at a higher level? You know, do you think that shadowing your dad for that brief period kind of helped at least turn that light bulb on for you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Because I mean, his whole purpose of getting into real estate was kind of that same thing, was kind of having that independence to be an entrepreneur, to help people, and to be able to kind of create, you know, his own destiny financially, and just work-life balance.
Yeah. Love it, dude. So, you know, a question that, you know, you mentioned that the personal training, along with kind of doing that side by side, or really, it sounds like personal training was kind of more part-time, real estate, whatever you want to put that as. You know, I get this question a lot from others that maybe they're driving Lyft or Uber, or have a corporate job, but they're also in real estate and trying to, you know, with the goal of making real estate their full-time career. You know, but they don't necessarily know how to leverage it. You know, they don't know how to bring up the conversations and so forth. I mean, how did you, I guess, start those conversations and leverage that and talk about it in you know, obviously a very effective way that led to a lot of real estate business?
Honestly, you know, I was really lucky and grateful that when I first started in real estate, the company that I signed on with forced us to spend a lot of money to go to a 1-week training class. And it was called Ninja Training, which is a really good program out there, but it's very similar to Buffini, like Referral Maker. And that's just kind of the style that my very first week of real estate, I sat through like a 40-hour class that week. And it just talked about letting everybody know what you're doing. You know, anybody that's in your sphere, let them know, remind them, don't annoy them with it, but constantly, you know, handwritten letters, phone calls, emails, the whole 9 yards. So I was just doing that. You know, I was a personal trainer. I also was bouncing at the time. I was a bouncer Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. So at night, I was picking up clients at the bar as a bouncer, was getting real estate clients, just constantly talking to people, handing out cards. And that's a huge thing about real estate, is it's not what you know, it's who you know. And if you're in front of a lot of people and a lot of different organizations, you can potentially pick up a ton of clients. So at the gym, I was talking to them. So, I mean, you know, during the training, I'm like, yeah, I'm loving real estate. It's really cool, slow start, but I love it. And then they, you know, had a friend or family member. So I continually was telling people and not complaining to people, letting them know how excited I was, because nobody wants to work with a complainer, in my opinion. They want to work with somebody that's ready to hustle for them. And then I coined like this phrase that I was like the 24-hour agent. And I was like, yeah, like call me, just try me, 2 a.m. I'm answering your calls. And, you know, that's just kind of spiraled where everything I was doing, and I just, you know, happened to be involved in bouncing downtown, training at the gym, working with a nonprofit that serves, thousands of people. And it wasn't calculated. It was, and that's what I'm so grateful for, is I didn't have to join these things and find these people and build relationships. I already had them. So I just had to convert and let them know what I was doing.
Yeah. And then at what point did you know that it was, I guess, safe, if you will, to go full-time into real estate? And by that, because it's one of those things where, obviously the money and the revenue is paying the bills and so forth, but with so many clients coming from personal training and also bouncing, I'm guessing that you might have kind of struggled with, can I replicate getting new clients without these? So, I mean, at what point did you make that transition and know? And again, the reason I'm asking this is, I get a lot of people that are making that pivot and transition. A lot of listeners that comment on the podcast and so forth that are kind of in those same shoes that you were in, and they just don't know. There's some fear there and so forth. They don't know when is the right time to kind of flip that switch.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And in my opinion, it was, I had to ask myself, am I losing money by going to train a client? And that's where, after I lost money by making money, if that makes any sense, by going to train a client in the morning when it doubled up, where somebody really wanted to have me over for a listing appointment that morning. And I was like, is there any other time that worked? Well, I can't bail on the personal training client, right? But I also don't want to tell the listing client that I'm still a personal trainer. So it was like having this balancing act. And after a few of those, between missing out on buyer consultations or showing houses, after a few of those, I thought to myself, man, I may have just lost $10,000 by making $15 training a client for this half hour. And that was, I had enough revenue coming in, and it really was just, the simple answer is when I realized I was losing money by keeping those jobs, or, bouncing till 4 a.m. the night before. And I have people that want to meet at 8 a.m. on a Saturday. And I showed up late, and I showed up pretty late enough that it's just unprofessional. And then it's like, all right, I need to cut this out. If that's going to get in the way of selling real estate, then it's not worth doing it.
Yeah, man. And I got to imagine that's a lot to juggle and a lot to do, right? From personal training from 6 a.m. to, whenever in the morning, but then you're bouncing till late at night, plus the real estate stuff. But the cool part about, I have to imagine, with that is it got you used to really just working your freaking ass off. Right? Which, in order to create the success that you've created, dude, it's, strategy is important, the right planning is important and so forth, but you can't escape the work. Like, if you got to be willing to show up and work your ass off. So I got to imagine that created some epic habits for you.
Yeah. And that's what I tell people all the time is, like, I'm so grateful for my upbringing. I never went without, but I, wasn't raised by a wealthy family, or, whatever the case may be. I wasn't starving, and I always had food on the table, but I bought my first car by working 2 jobs in high school. I was a janitor at I went to a public school, but I would skateboard to the private school 5 days a week and clean the school, and also worked at a car wash, bought my first car, took out student loans. And that stuff was just huge, character building, and just having that responsibility of knowing how to save for something, and knowing, how hard I have to work if I want to achieve certain goals. So yeah, like you said, personal training, and that was kind of, most people don't personal train on the weekend. So it kind of was a perfect set up to just be working 24/7, from, training in the morning, real estate during the day, training at night, bouncing on the weekends, doing real estate. So it's just something where kind of the addict mentality of, if I'm going to be addicted to something, I might as well make it something positive.
Yeah, no, I love that, dude. So then when you went full-time, you talked about when you were, and again, I don't want to say part-time, because it sounds like you were working still a full-time real estate schedule with these other, side hustles, if you will. But you talked about a lot of your business coming from referral from those jobs. When you pivoted full-time, did you start adding other kind of new business methods, like whatever that may be, online lead generation, doing open houses and so forth? Or have you always really still continued to focus on just that repeat referral business and really building that up?
No, yeah, and great question. That when I went full time, well, the day I started in real estate, I found a great mentor, and she kind of found me. I found her. She was one of my personal training clients, and she was, killing it in the real estate world. And Susan was like, "Hey, look, like if you want to hold open houses, I've got an overflow of buyers." So I kind of came on under her, and she was following Buffini, referral maker, really hard. And so I naturally, from going to the ninja training, which we all went to at the brokerage, and my mentor doing Buffini referral maker, I just was kind of ingrained with, okay, this is how you sell real estate. I didn't even really think about what other ways there were. I just said it's working for them. So let me, not try to reinvent the wheel. And I started with an Excel spreadsheet for my database, and then went to Top Producer, and then quickly went to Buffini Referral Maker, but did not do any of the lead generation as far as buying leads. But I definitely, my first almost 2 years, I would say at least a year and a half, I was holding at least one open house a weekend. I usually tried to do a Saturday and a Sunday open house, so 2 a weekend. And that was a huge percentage too, nowhere near as much as the gym, but I would say, maybe 20% of my clients were coming from open houses, still the majority from the gym. And even today, a huge percentage still comes from the gym, because I represent the owner of Gold's and all of his transactions, and some of the fitness consultants and other people that work at the gym. I help them with their real estate, and then they, in return, refer me clients there. Because I try to, give them a white glove service.
Yeah, no, I love that, dude. So, those that are watching, listening to this that maybe haven't been through, Buffini's training and so forth. And look, the reality is most agents suck when it comes to getting repeat referral business. And when I say suck, I mean, I'm just going off NAR stats. 88% of buyers sellers said they love their agent, will utilize them again. Only 11% do a repeat referral business. And that's because the vast majority forget who the agent was, right? It doesn't matter how good you service them. You got to keep that relationship and contact and touch and so forth. And, so what are some of the things you do, man? Because you've built up just this massive kind of machine of repeat referral business, and it looks like it continues to grow still this day. What are some of the things that you do kind of post-close, if you will, to maintain those relationships and keep that nurturing?
Yeah, no, that is what I get most excited about is kind of following that referral plan. And really it's the biggest thing I think is just being very honest and open and transparent to the client that, hey, I don't spend a ton of money on marketing myself because I want to focus on you. Whether it's a listing, I'll gladly spend $1,000 doing paid marketing for your house, not for me as an agent, but to get your house sold. And as a buyer, I will drop whatever I'm doing, show you any house you want to see, instead of chasing down cold leads. But the only way I'm able to do this is by referral. So you can't be uncomfortable to let people know that you rely on their referrals. Because a lot of people don't know how to give a referral. So it's not even like us thinking, why aren't they referring me? It should be, why haven't we taught them how to refer us, And so I tell people all the time, like, do you have any friends that, you would feel comfortable referring me to? And then they're like, yeah. And then it's like, well, here's all you need to do. Let them know that you're really happy with your agent, and kind of coach them on how to refer, but also kind of letting them know that they, their referral means the world to you. But to get back to your question, what do I do post-close? I love a closing gift, which I think every agent should do. That's like the most basic thing you can do is, a closing gift. Maybe it's a gift card in there. Maybe it's something personal. If it's a listing, a lot of times I like to have a local artist paint a picture of the house that we just sold so they can hang it at their next house. And every time they look at that, they're probably going to remember the agent that gave it to them. And if it's a buyer, I like to give gifts that will hang around, and a lot of it's branded. So cutting boards that are branded with my information on it, Yeti cups that are branded with my information on it. I have a lot of stuff I try to do local, whether it's branding, mainstream stuff, or if it's like candles. There's a good friend of mine, she makes candles. So I like to order 100 every couple months. And what we do is we do what's Buffini, the referral maker program I try to follow. It's called pop buys. So trying to do as many of those as possible. And all that is just a small gift, every either month or quarter, depending on how close you are with the client. But let's say that over the summer we did like beach towels. So giving out 100 of those and having, an assistant or somebody that you pay hourly to go and drop them off. And now it's great with the pandemic because nobody wants you knocking on their door or talking to you. So you can just just pop it on their doorstep and run. But popping those by, and that's huge, man. I get so many referrals because of the cute little seasonal gifts. And they're not super expensive, somewhere between $5 and $10. But if you're getting showered with a few gifts a year and you're, as an agent calling that client at least a couple times a year, like, hey, how's the house going? I'd love to hear anything, and being genuine with it too. I mean, if you really don't care, then I don't know, some agents maybe like my style probably wouldn't be the right style. It'd probably be like calling expireds and for sale by owners or something like that. But I think if you really do care about people and you also shower them with gifts and you also reach out to them to check in, then I think they actually want to share your name with a lot of people. They want to kind of brag about you. And that's what it is, so following up with gifts, following up with calls. And then I love a client party, which I don't know how we'll do it this year. Last year we did it at the pumpkin patch, and every client that I'd ever worked with was invited to pick up as many pumpkins as they wanted on me. So, I had some clients pulling $120 worth of pumpkins out. And just, having food there, making rounds, talking to people, seeing them, just getting in front of them again. And those are some of the big things. I would say those are some of the most things, but also just the willingness to go to any length. So like a lot of my clients, I've shared before on podcast and with friends that, like, I think last year I did like 8 moves. And what that means is like people that were in a jam or didn't have the money until the proceeds came out, like literally got like my truck, my trailer, and a couple people and moved somebody from house to house, 10 o'clock at night and moving them. And like people were like, holy crap, I can't believe you're actually doing this. Like maybe even tears coming down their face. Like, how did we get so lucky? And those are the people that might send me 10 referrals the next year, 10 deals that closed. And when I moved them, it wasn't like, oh, I'm doing this, so I hopefully they send me 10 deals. It's like I actually cared about their move and them not getting screwed and not like, being helpless.
Yep. No, it's powerful, man. I love it, dude. So then when you have, let's just say as an example, you just talked about that client potentially giving you 10 referrals a year. Do you do things, special things for those kind of like raving fans that, because you get some clients that might refer you as somebody every 2 years, and then you might have those, and it might just be because they're in a special industry, right? Like one of our top referring clients owns a pool company. So, he services like hundreds and hundreds of pools throughout the valley, has relationships. So just because of what he does, we might get a dozen referrals a year from that one client. So from those kind of like, do you categorize like, okay, top referrers? And if so, like, do you do anything special for the people sending you, I guess, the more referrals?
I try to. I need to be better about it, and I like to be transparent that there's so many things, and especially having conversations like this, it makes me think, like, as you're saying that, I'm like, man, I need to do this. I need to do that. There's always, a million things on the to-do list. But yeah, I really try to. I try to let people know anytime I get a referral, I write a card to the person who referred the person, whoever referred the deal. I like to write a card, whether I get the client or not, just saying like, hey, thank you so much for thinking of me. I am so grateful for the opportunity to help your friend, and just really expressing that gratitude and, maybe giving them something that could help them with their house, or if I've followed them on Facebook and seeing that they just had a kid or whatever the case may be. Just making sure that they know how much I appreciate that. But to answer your question, I don't have like a system in place that's like, all right, these people referred this, so they get this, and these people referred that. But I really should.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you're talking about this, and this is more something just for those that are watching and listening, it's a lot of work. I mean, you're doing a lot of work with all the pop buys, and there's a financial investment and so forth, but you're not having to buy and pay the tremendous amount of money for these new lead services. But then when we think about the time that it takes to follow up, with Facebook leads, Zillow leads, whatever, you're not having to invest that time. It's just allocating your time in a different way. And it's, sounds like it's been massively, massively effective. And I love that you brought up too, it sounds like it really starts when they first become a client. Like you're really prepping them. You're kind of teaching and training them, if you will, of how to send you referrals, from when they become a client. So it's like a kind of an indoctrination process right when they become a client, not just after close, but, really starting initially with planting those seeds. Is that correct?
100%. Last night I was showing a house at like 7:00, and friend of mine just sold his house and helping him buy his next house. And we're in a house looking at it. And I'm explaining that to him, and I'm like, hey man, I rely on referrals. And he's like, oh yeah, a friend of mine's who I know is about to move back from California. So he said, let me tell him that I'm going to send his number to you and let him know that you're going to reach out. And he did it right then and there, set him up on a search at like 9:00 last night, been talking to him today already. And it's just from letting him know that. If I wouldn't have let him know, I don't know, there's a 50-50 chance that I maybe never would have even set that search up or had the opportunity to work with his friend,
Yep. Now, when you are having those conversations, let's just pretend like, I'm your client. I'm like, oh yeah, I got a friend that's, moving, whatever, that's looking to buy or sell. When you get that intel, are you kind of doing it more passively of, okay, well, here, give my information, or are you being kind of playing offense with it of, oh, well, yeah, give me their information, I'll give them a call?
100%. Always ask. I always am working to get their information. One, just, obviously that's greater chance that I'll get in touch with them, but also, with the amount of calls and texts coming in, I want to have their number saved. I would like to reach out to them, be the one that is reaching out. But if nothing else, at least so I have that number saved and it's on my radar and I'm not thinking it's a spam call coming in.
Do you find that most people are like, oh yeah, no worries, here's their number, or is there a little bit of resistance? Because it's like, well, I don't know if my friend wants me giving you their number. Let me have a combo with them first.
Yeah, well, and I'll always tell them, and I'll respect it 100%. I'll say, well, if you give me your number, I'll just wait for you to give me the green light, just so I have it. And that way, if they call me, then I know to answer, but I promise you, I won't call until you give me the thumbs up to give them a call. But I definitely like to get the number, so, and I also just I'm not like a hardcore closer as far as, pushing somebody to make a deal right then and there. And I think most of my clients see that. And so they know that I'm not going to be calling this person 100 times that doesn't want to talk if they don't want to talk to me. So, as far as the way I sell real estate, and I've found that I actually show a lot less houses this way, is more or less give them the facts, take them out, educate them ahead of time on the market conditions. Whereas I'm typically showing 3 to 5 houses to a client, maybe 2 trips out before we're under contract. Whereas before, when I was doing what I thought real estate agents were supposed to do, trying to upsell every house, I wound up showing 15 to 20 houses on 7 or 8 different trips over, 30 days. But when I kind of came at it from a different approach and a different angle of, let me prep you with the facts, let me educate you on the market, and you tell me if you like the house. I'll just tell you my opinion on the roof, the siding, the windows, and all of that stuff. It was a game changer for me.
Yeah, love it. So then when you're reaching out to, let's just say like the dude last night or the person last night that gave you the friend's number that's moving back to your area from California, when you call that person, is there anything that you found that's really important so they're not catching them off guard where they're like, who the hell are you? How'd you get my number? Right? And not getting irritated. Is there anything that you've kind of found that is important to do when you're making those reach outs?
And sometimes I'm guessing, but a lot of times I like to reach out with a text so they don't feel kind of overwhelmed, and let them know, hey, it's James, friend of so-and-so. When would be a good time to catch up? I'd love to talk to you about your interest in buying a house here in Richmond, and just kind of softly with a text where then they, if I call them, they might be scrambling or be kind of on guard, versus my text allows them to text back and say, hey, here, call me in 20 minutes and love to chat with you.
Yep. Awesome, man. So then you mentioned earlier giving and providing white glove service. Mm-hmm. And, it gets talked about all the time in our industry of, you got to take amazing care of your clients. You got to provide world-class service, but I think a lot of real estate agents are like, what the hell does that even mean? Like what, a lot of real estate agents, I think, at least the conversations that I have, struggle with, like, how do I go above and beyond? And what does world-class service? What does making this, a better service than they might have with another real estate agent, right? Outside of trying to find them the home or getting their home sold at the price they need or whatever, what are some of the other things that you do to really make it a great experience?
Yeah, I think that I could go on for hours on this topic, but I see a lot of agents in my market that are kind of, they want to work. They wanted to be an agent so they could create their schedule. And this might not be what a lot of the listeners want to hear, but I think a huge part of me is realizing that I need to work around their schedule if I want to do the level of business that I want to do. I can't tell them, hey, okay, my schedule allows you Friday at 10 a.m. And make them feel, I like to make every client feel like they're the only client. And it does cut into personal life, but I love selling real estate. So if, I get to do what I love. And anytime somebody wants to do something, I'm like, how about 4:00 today? And they're like, holy crap, that quick? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. 4:00 today. Let's go. And, doing exactly what I say I'm going to do, showing up on time, and really just doing my due diligence on everything, coming, with the facts instead of, I'll find out later and getting back to them a day later. So even the little things, that's the white glove service, in my opinion, is being able to educate them. Also, spending my personal time, not even on their deal, building relationships with builders and other people in the industry, making sure that I've gone through and used all of these home inspectors, and I've found the ones that have the technology that's going to best protect the client. Same with the settlement companies, making sure that we're doing ones that have e-recording, that can take deposits without using a personal check, like little stuff like that, making sure that the whole process is seamless. And then on top of it, like I was sharing about moving, just being willing to do stuff that other agents aren't willing to do. And I think it really shows through. I think a lot of real estate agents have a bad rep as a whole, that we're these salespeople that, want to work as little as possible to make as much money as possible. And I think it's refreshing for clients when an agent works really hard and goes out of their way to do things that might not be considered the real estate agent's job. Yep. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I love it, dude. And I couldn't agree more, man. It always drives me nuts. Like when I'm on a realtor Facebook group or something, right. Where I see, an agent bitching and whining, and this is to other agents, but, that all these clients are calling me at 7:00 at night. They have no respect for, my personal time. And I'm like, look, man.
You better be glad that phone's ringing.
Yeah, right.
It's ringing at 10:00 at night.
Yeah, you got to treat it as, man, it's an honor to be able to serve people at accomplishing their real estate goals with the biggest sell and purchase of their lifetime. And if they have a fear and a concern and you call at 9:00 at night, pick up your damn phone, man.
Yeah. Or get out of the job. I mean, and it's just like the attitude of gratitude has been huge. I just love telling people how grateful, like I'm grateful to be on this podcast. Thank you, for inviting me. I love telling people how grateful I am for the opportunity. to work for them. And it's so true. It's not me BSing or blowing smoke. And I think people really see that is I don't come in on listing appointments or buyer consultations and talk about how many houses I've sold, or a lot of times people are surprised when they find the numbers out, on their own or from a friend saying like, did you know he was just on HGTV, or did you know he got, 30 under 30s, top 30 in the nation? Or a lot of times I'm not telling my clients this, they're finding out from other people. And all I tell them is, hey, look, I don't know everything. I don't have some crazy technology that can do anything that others can't do. But what I can tell you is I promise you I will work harder than any other agent. I promise you that. And I'll be honest with you. I'll be transparent. If there's a problem, you'll be the first to know. I'll let you know throughout the whole transition what's going on. And I think people that's all they want is communication and honesty and a hardworking individual.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more, dude. And then, you're also somebody that, as real estate agents, most real estate agents, obviously, I shouldn't say most, but let's just say that, most, just to have some generalization, right? Might know their contract and how to protect their clients contractually and know the timelines and deadlines, but most real estate agents don't know the actual real estate product themselves. And you've really educated yourself on the product. Like you mentioned, give your personal input on the roof, the siding, the wind, whatever it may be. And, how is that added to your level of success by also spending and investing the time and getting to know real estate itself, right? And maybe we're not general contractors or electricians and know every little thing, but having some expertise, in the actual real estate product itself.
Well, 100%. I mean, that I think has been a huge factor in the success I've had in real estate, is that it's kind of like, if I believe in it enough, why am I not buying it? Any other agent, like if you own a bunch of stocks and no real estate and you're a real estate agent, it's like, what are you doing? If this is the product you're selling and you truly believe it's a great investment for people to buy, why don't you buy it yourself? So, I mean, that's where I really got my education on it, was just bumping my head. I started buying real estate the minute I got my real estate license, and, have bought a ton of rental houses, have bought and renovated a ton of houses. Every year it's grown as far as rental portfolio is, and also the amount of projects being done. And part of that's just been with real estate income, as far as selling houses for individuals, taking that money and being able to buy, 3 or 4 or 5 houses at a time and have them all being renovated. And every deal I'm learning new stuff, whether it's from framing to electrical, plumbing, I'm learning new stuff and seeing issues and seeing how the solution is. And then I can correlate that back. And I know that that's not for everybody. I'm not saying everybody should try to go flip houses and buy rental houses, but at least, investing into real estate. And that was the thing. Like, I couldn't wait to buy my first house, because I was like, who am I? Like, how do I look selling real estate while I'm renting an apartment? You know what I mean? And it was just, I just couldn't wait. Like, I almost felt embarrassed to be selling real estate, but be renting an apartment. But it was just my financial situation. I couldn't until I could. And, but I think that's huge, because a lot of my clientele is investors. I've got some investors that are buying 5 that turn around and resell those 5. I've got one guy that's bought like 23 houses with me in the last 2 years and held them all as rental houses. And it's been cool to be a part of their process. It's also cool when they come to me and they're like, hey, I know nothing about it, but I've seen what you've done and I want to do it too. And usually I have a quick conversation of like, hey, it's not like the TV shows. Like, be ready to give up some nights and weekends if you're going to start owning rental houses, especially if you're going to manage them yourself. And, I think that's been huge, though. I mean, I can't tell you how many times clients have been like, thank you for pointing that out. Because sometimes it's a house that they're like, James, we want to make an offer on this house. And I'm like, hey, not to talk you out of it, but let me just point a few things out. Let me point out the masonite siding that's got a ton of rot on it. Let me point out the old wood windows that's got peel and paint on it. Let me point out that there's moss all over the roof. These are things that yes, they will probably come up at the home inspection. Could we get them, the sellers, to do it? I don't know, but do you want to roll the dice? And sometimes they're like, holy crap, thank you so much for saying that. No, we don't want to. And I don't ever like to talk a client out of a deal, but I also don't want to misinform them or not educate them on what they're buying.
Yep. Yep. Love that, dude. So then, and it's so important, man, and especially for real estate agents, because I mean, we're in an industry, I guess this really holds true for all entrepreneurs, but it's like, look, at the end of the day, we don't have pensions, right? We don't have 401ks, but like, not that an agent can go invest and set their own, plans, but most agents don't have a retirement or some type of a wealth creation plan. And what I love about you, dude, is, as you mentioned earlier, it wasn't like you didn't come from money. It wasn't like you had a bunch of money in the bank, or, you left after a corporate job that you got a big severance that you could invest into this. Like, you were making $15 an hour as a personal trainer, living in an apartment, right? Getting into this industry, and really, had to bootstrap this whole thing. And, for those that are watching and listening that might be in a position where they don't own any properties yet, and they're maybe just looking to get started, right? What kind of advice would you have for somebody that's looking to get started as a real estate agent, for buying that first rental, and whether it be mistakes to watch out for and so forth?
Great. Yeah. I mean, I bought all my rentals at first with financing. I did the typical 20% down, 80% loan value, and I wasn't buying expensive stuff. I bought what I could afford. And I can't stand when clients are like, oh, I don't want, rentals in bad areas. Like, I want really nice rentals and this and that, and I need to wait and do this. And it's like, well, I mean, if my belief, and it might go against like a lot of other investors, is like, if you go into this wanting to supply a nice house for somebody that needs to rent it, shouldn't matter what the area is. If you just treat people like people, and a lot of my tenants have had evictions or have bad credit, but have more or less, I just had a good vibe with them, met them, holding the open house on a rental house of mine, and I self-manage everything. And I just let people know, like, hey, I'm not this wealthy like corporation. I'm just a guy that has a mortgage on this house. And if you don't pay your rent, then like the house could go into foreclosure. Of course I could probably make that payment for a while, but that's the truth of the matter, is like, I want to take care of this house, and I want to provide you with a really good place to live. All my rentals have new roofs, double pane vinyl windows, new HVAC systems. None of them, all of them have central air. They all are in really good shape. And I think that makes a difference, but they're all really, they're in really cheap areas to buy houses. So whatever that means, I didn't go and get these nice rentals, but by buying a bunch of houses that, let's say on average, are $80,000, and it's a 20% down payment. So we're talking about a $16,000 down payment, and then paying some closing costs. So on average, let's say it's 20 grand to buy the house. I don't go after the dumps. It's not like you have to have contractors ready. You can buy a house that just needs new carpet, paint, and then over the next few years, as you're collecting rent, put the new roof on it, put the, new windows in it, and just snowball it. And I bought a lot of houses, and then I didn't have a ton of capital. I was just, as I was closing deals, putting it right in there. And then, just as most markets in America have, some of these houses I was buying for 50 and 60,000, all of a sudden were worth 120 or 130,000 just in forced appreciation. And so then I sold quite a few of them, which freed up a lot of cash and allowed me to do more things, investing wise. But yeah, I mean, and then I have clients that are like, oh, well, I'm going to wait for the downturn. But I've got clients and friends that 5 years ago, when we were just starting off buying, they were like, I'm waiting for the downturn. So 5 years later, they own no houses. And like, I was lucky to just constantly pick the brains of other investors, most of them not real estate agents, but I would just beg them to sit down with me, beg them and say, hey, I'm not going to take up your whole day. It'll be 30 minutes. I'll buy you lunch, and I'll just want to pick your brain. And these guys, that didn't know me, didn't need to sit down with me. I was lucky that, 2 or 3 out of the 20 I hit up would sit down with me and give me kind of their blueprint, and I could pick and pull parts of what they were doing that really worked for them. And a lot of them were like, buy when it's high and then buy more when it's low. And they're just, the simple phrases, scared money doesn't make money, stuff like that. And so I was just like, okay, well, that's what I'll do. I'll just slowly be buying right now. And, in my time in real estate, I've never experienced the downturn. So, we'll see what that looks like whenever it comes, but I'll just keep buying until then too.
Yeah. Love that, dude, man. Awesome advice, dude. And then, you've got you went to school for economics, and you mentioned that you haven't been in a downturn yet since you've had your license, but, with your background as well as, obviously the success that you've created in real estate, the knowledge that you have with it. And, a lot of that's just the question that comes up every day right now is the market going to crash, right? Do you have any, kind of thoughts or theories yourself personally on what things could look like in the next couple of years?
I mean, my answer to every client that asks me that is if I knew the answer to your question, I wouldn't be selling real estate. I'd be a billionaire right now.
Yeah.
And then they laugh and I'm like, but if a lot of times I'll just kind of dumb it down for them and be like, hey, look, like, if you don't feel comfortable buying a house, then maybe it's not the right time for you to buy a house. But I would definitely encourage you to look at the alternative. If you are going to rent instead of buying because the market could potentially go down, and let's say the average rental rate for a nice house in Richmond is $1,800 a month. So you're looking at, a little over 20 grand a year that you're going to rent. And we all know the minimum is going to be a year lease, probably a 2-year lease. So you're looking at 20 to 40,000 that you're going to spend in rental income that you'll never see back ever in your life. Or you slightly overpay for a house now if the market drops, which we don't know is going to happen. And then if you look at the history since houses sales prices were recorded, and it's always, dipping, but it's always going up if you can wait it out. And that's my honest opinion. And I show that to them. They're like, oh yeah, that's a no-brainer. Instead of spending 40 grand in rent over the next couple of years, we would just buy a house. And if we had to stay in it a little longer than we expected, that's fine.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much been the answer from everyone that I've had. But yeah, I mean, I always like to start with that answer because it kind of like makes a tough question that's kind of uncomfortable as a salesperson. Is the market going to crash? And, that simple joking answer of if I knew the answer to that, I wouldn't be selling real estate. I'd be a billionaire and then go from there.
Yeah, I love that, dude. And man, I mean, I loved your answer, right? Because so many agents, when it comes to objections, are looking for some magical sales script. But, in my 15 plus years of selling real estate, and I had a sales background before I got into real estate, I found objections just to be a lack of education, right? It's just educating them so they can make the best decision for themselves, their family. And if they decide not to move forward, it's not an objection. It's just a decision. And it sounds like instead of trying to come up with some script of objection here to talk them into it, you're just educating them in a way where they're able to make their own decision, but it just makes sense. And, we also look at historically, rents inflate in a down market, like 2008, 2009, when the market crashed, man, rents are going up because there's a huge demand now for people needing rents that are losing their houses and so forth.
Yeah. I mean, and it's, even right now, and all I can speak on really, I don't really study markets outside of Virginia, but I know like in Richmond and Central Virginia, rental rates have gone up tremendously just in the last few months here.
Yep. 100%, dude. So, I'm curious, man, what's your long-term goal with your overall real estate career? Meaning, do you see yourself continuing to sell long-term and maybe build a, big team, or do you see yourself, at some point when your portfolio, it makes sense to do this, like kind of transitioning more to becoming a full-time investor?
I think some of both. I'm an individual agent, so I don't have any buyer's agents underneath me, or any licensed employees. I have one personal assistant, that is awesome. She's been with me about 14, going on 15 months now. I had a couple assistants before her. And, I love selling real estate. I love working with buyers. I love working with sellers. I don't have any plans of building out a team in the near future, and I haven't really thought too much about it. I like what I've got going, and I'm not like a crazy aggressive investor either. It's been like slow growth, and I have friends, Joe McCabe out of he's up in Pennsylvania, and he bought like 110 rentals, and he's a year or two younger than me. He bought it in 1 year. And so stuff like that kind of scares me. Whereas I could see myself over the next 10 years, picking up 3, 4, 5 rentals a year, and just, building that portfolio with good deals, kind of, constantly watching the market, to add those and continue renovating houses, maybe doing, some right now doing like 10 or 12 a year, getting it up to like 15 to 20 a year renovations. And just kind of juggling both for the next 10 years. And like right now I love it, but at the same time, I don't have any kids. I'm not married, and maybe that will change with that. If I have kids in the future, that maybe I won't be able to work 24/7. But yeah, I don't have any grand plans or anything other than just constantly try to find better systems and better ways to serve the client, and also better ways to serve my tenants, and better ways to run renovations.
Yeah, and what's so cool about it, dude, is, you got into the game early, but you've also been smart, right? So, you have now options for the future. As you mentioned, if you get married, have kids, whatever, now you have the choice. You've made the sacrifices while probably a lot of other, 20-year-olds are out there partying and doing whatever, right? You made those sacrifices, but you've created wealth and a foundation where now that gives you future decisions. It's what's the saying? Live for a brief period of time or your life like nobody else, so then you can live the rest of your life like nobody else can live. And you've been kind of a testament to that.
Yeah, man. And I mean, honestly, the really cool thing about it is I never listened to any of the bigger pockets. I heard they're really good, but I've never like read any of the investment books or listened to any of that, which may have saved me some mistakes. And it was kind of like I didn't let fear hold me back from whatever. I mean, I got into the business and I had a lot of fear. Like, I'm a very fearful person, but I was just willing to take the chance to embarrass myself or whatever the case may be, by just trying to ask for the opportunity, or make the risk. And there was a lot of times I bought a house where it was all of the money I had at the very beginning. And in my head, I was like, if I lose it all, I'll just hustle even harder to try to get more back. And those were the ones that like actually were able to elevate me to the next level, because it wound up being some of the best deals. And everybody was telling me, don't buy that, don't go in that area, don't do this. And it was, I guess I just had to try for myself, because a lot of people that were telling me not to weren't in this field or doing it themselves. They were just from the outside looking in. But I think that's my biggest piece of advice, is getting into the business young. I was so fearful that people wouldn't use me as their agent because I was young. I was also fearful that people wouldn't take me seriously because I was young and inexperienced. But that wasn't the case at all. It was the biggest made up fear in my head. People love it that I'm young and hungry. They love that I'm just like all about it, ready to go to battle every day, showing houses from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. They love it. And it's crazy that I thought that was going to hold me back. And it's actually like the best attribute. And then, same with like just asking for business. I mean, I've shared stories with people like at the DMV, I'll literally be in line talking real estate to people I don't know around me. And I'm not even the most outgoing guy. I'm just willing to take the chance. And it's worked out really well. So I guess that would be something that I really want to share to any listeners is like, don't be scared or fearful to try to go after opportunities.
Yeah, powerful stuff, dude. So with that being said, man, knowing everything that you know now today, if like James today, like you right now could go back and have a conversation with your younger self when you first started in this industry and give yourself a couple pieces of advice that you feel would have fast forwarded your own success trajectory, what would those pieces of advice be, knowing everything you know now today?
I think the first and biggest one was when I first got in, I spent a lot of time, we've already talked about the referral side of things, but I did spend time like going to apartment complexes to try to host first-time buyer consult like classes and stuff like that, and running around I did a lot of the, how can I get leads? That was in my head. Like, how do I go out and get leads? And I spent so much time, trying to bring in leads, and it never worked. Like, nobody would show up to my classes that I would get like cookies and drinks and stuff, and none of it ever worked. And really, I should have been focusing on people that already knew me, liked me, and trust me. The sphere of influence, where yes, I was letting them know what I was doing, but I was spending more time trying to like find other avenues. And luckily, I quickly learned, to kind of pull it back in within that first year. But I probably would have told myself to just start there and let those people be, my biggest marketing source or the fans I already had, before real estate, whether it's people from my church or people from the gym, or I should have focused more on that. A huge thing would be the fear. There were a lot of situations where I knew somebody was interested in selling, but I was scared to go after the business because I thought I feared rejection. And I let that get in the way for a little while until, I realized that what do I have to lose? Like nothing, literally nothing. And if they don't choose me, they'll probably respect me for trying and be like, man, even if they don't choose me, they won't dislike me for trying. But I definitely missed out on a decent portion of business, just being scared to try. So to get rid of the fear, to focus on the people that are already close to me, would be two big things. And then I guess, the third, probably would have been just to try to start implementing the touches to people. Cause at first when I was closing deals, it was kind of, it's closed. Wow. The commission check's here. That's awesome. And it wasn't until a couple years later where I started trying to really maintain the relationships, and that kind of blew up pretty quick.
Yep. Yeah. Amazing stuff. And James, for anybody that's watching or listening to this then that wants to, to continue following you, check out, continue, watching you on this success journey. We're all real estate agents here, man. Maybe they have a referral for your marketplace. They have a client moving to your marketplace, whatever that may be. Like, what are the best places to follow you, to get in touch with you, all of that?
Yeah. My Instagram is just my name. It's at James Justin Ney. And then my Facebook is James J. Ney. And then my website is jamesney.com. And LinkedIn and Twitter, same thing, James Ney. So website has everything connected from there, which is jamesney.com. But Facebook and Instagram, usually checking daily, which is James Justin Ney.
Yep. Awesome. And those that are watching, listening, wherever you're at and whatever medium, whether you're on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, wherever you're at, if you just scroll below, we'll have all James' contact information, all his websites, social media handles, all of that below. So James, man, I know how busy you are, dude, and I truly, truly appreciate you taking time out of a busy day to be here, man. This has been an honor and been a ton of fun, dude.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%, my friend. And those watching, listening, as always, thank you for being here. Thank you for all your support. Keep up the amazing work and keep kicking ass. Peace. This GSD Mode podcast episode. Now make sure you get shit done and smash that subscribe button now.